The billionaire stepped out of his car, and for the first time in his life he didn't feel rich. Something felt wrong. Not the street, not the silence, not even the broken houses around him. It was deeper than that. It was the kind of feeling that sits in your chest and refuses to leave. He stood still for a moment, staring at the small house in front of him. "This is your home?" he asked quietly. The maid standing beside him didn't answer immediately. Her fingers tightened around the edge of her scarf. Her eyes stayed down. "Yes, sir," she finally said. Her voice was soft, too soft, like it had learned not to be heard. "Before we go on, tell me in the comments, what time is it where you are, and where are you watching from? Now, let's continue." The man looked at the house again. The walls were cracked. The paint had long faded away. The roof looked like it could fall apart with one strong wind. This was not just poverty. This was survival. And somehow, this was the home of the woman who served him every single day. He took a slow step forward. His polished shoes touched the dusty ground. He didn't like dirt. He avoided it all his life. But today he didn't step back. The maid followed behind him quietly, carefully, like she was afraid her presence alone might disturb him. He pushed the door open. It made a weak creaking sound. Inside, there was almost nothing. A small bed, an old chair, a tiny stove in the corner. That was all. No decorations, no comfort, no warmth, just space, filled with struggle. He stopped walking. Something inside him shifted. The person who served him meals every day barely had food for herself. He swallowed slowly. The air suddenly felt heavy, too heavy. The maid stood near the door, silent, still, waiting, not for help, just waiting. He looked around again, this time slower. A torn blanket folded neatly, a cracked cup placed carefully on a small table, a stove that looked like it had fought every day just to stay alive. Everything here told a story he had never cared to hear. His fingers curled slightly, because now he couldn't ignore it anymore. He sat down on the old chair, creaked under his weight, not because it was weak, but because it had already carried too much. His posture changed. The confidence he wore like armor started to fall apart quietly. For the first time in years, he didn't feel powerful. He felt small. He looked up at her, really looked this time, and what he saw in her eyes, he had never seen before. Pain. Not loud, not dramatic, but deep. The kind that stays hidden for years. The kind that becomes part of you. The maid quickly lowered her gaze again. Like even eye contact was not allowed. Like she had learned her place. Long ago, he remembered something suddenly. The day he complained about cold coffee. He remembered his tone, his irritation. And now, he wondered, had she eaten that day? Or was she serving him on an empty stomach? A quiet breath escaped his lips. Heavy, slow, full of regret. He tried to speak, but no words came out. Because for the first time, he didn't know what to say. The maid moved gently. She placed a small tray on the table. Tea. Simple, carefully made. Even here, in her own broken home, she was still serving him. That hit him harder than anything else. He stared at the cup, then at her, then back at the cup. His hand reached for it, slowly, but it wasn't steady anymore. He took a sip, then paused. This tea probably cost her more than he could ever understand. His mind flashed. Wasted meals, half-eaten food thrown away, complaints about taste. And now, this, a quiet guilt settled inside him. Not loud, but heavy enough to stay. "It's all I have," she said softly. He looked up. Her voice was calm, but it carried truth. Raw truth. He placed the cup down gently. He couldn't continue. Something inside him was breaking. Not his image, not his status, but the person he thought he was. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the dusty floor, searching for answers he should have found long ago. She stepped back, giving him space, like she always did, like she had trained herself to do, make herself smaller, unnoticed, invisible. He remembered her again. Every morning. Always on time. Always respectful. Always quiet. No matter what she was going through. And he never asked. Not once. A sharp realization hit him. She lived 2 lives. One in his house. One in this struggle. And he only saw one. His chest tightened. Because now, he could see everything. Her tired face. Her worn-out hands. Small cuts. Rough skin. Proof of endless work. And no relief. For the first time, he felt ashamed. Ashamed of being served. Ashamed of not seeing. Ashamed of being comfortable while she survived. The silence between them changed. It wasn't empty anymore. It was full. Full of truth. Full of understanding. Full of things that didn't need words. He stood up slowly. Walked toward the door. Then stopped. His hand rested on it. But he didn't open it. Because leaving now would mean running away. And for the first time, he didn't want to run. He turned back. Looked at the room again. But this time, not with shock. With responsibility. He noticed the empty corner again. No food. No zapas. Just today. Only today. Nothing more. He clenched his jaw. Because this wasn't just her situation. This was also people like him. People who never looked closely. Never asked. Never cared enough. She spoke again. "I'm fine, sir." He shook his head slowly. Not at her. At himself. Because he knew. Fine was just a shield. A survival word. A quiet lie. He took a deep breath. This time, different. Not guilt alone. Decision. He walked toward her. Not like a boss. Not like a rich man. But like a human being. Equal. Finally. She looked up. Surprised. Something had changed in his eyes. Something real. "I can't ignore this," he said quietly. His voice was steady. Honest. "This ends here." She froze. Like she didn't understand. Or maybe she didn't believe it. Because promises were rare. And kept promises? Even rarer. He didn't move closer. He respected the distance. But his words stayed firm. "You don't have to hide anymore." Her fingers tightened slightly. Hope felt unfamiliar. Dangerous. Like something that could break her. He saw that hesitation. And it hurt. Because it meant she had learned to live without help. Without expectation. Without anyone. "I'm not doing you a favor," he continued. "This is something you deserve." Her eyes filled with tears. But she quickly blinked them away. Strong. Even now. Even here. He respected that. Because she didn't need saving. She needed fairness. A chance. A real one. "This house will be fixed," he said. "You'll be paid properly. You'll be treated properly. No more hiding." She stood still. Listening. Feeling something she had buried long ago. Hope. Real hope. He nodded slightly. Not asking for thanks. Because this wasn't kindness. This was correction. Something he should have done years ago. The silence returned again. But this time, felt peaceful. Light. Different. He turned toward the door again. And this time, he opened it. But something was different. He didn't feel like he was leaving. Because a part of him had already stayed behind. The maid watched him go. Her face calm. But inside, something had started to rebuild. Slowly. Quietly. But finally. And sometimes, that's how change begins. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just one moment. One truth. One decision. That changes everything. Some stories stay with you forever. If this touched you, like the video, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this.